What's up, Juventus? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel dedicated to Juventus. And unfortunately, Juve gets humbled in Champions League 5-2 to Galatasaray. A tale of two halves, and everybody under fire with the fan base after this one. How quickly that narrative around pride in these guys turns to shame just like that. And yeah, there's a ton to tackle in the aftermath here. And when it rains, it pours, as Gleison Bremer makes headlines with his injury, as we're all on watch for him. And it looks like 1 month. We are waiting for the official announcement from the club. The reports indicate 1 month out with Gleison Bremer. So now we tackle this post-match with everything. And I've got my boy Trim with me. Wish it was better circumstances, brother, but always great to chat Juve with you. Happy to have you on here. Are you ready to rock this thing or what?
Yeah, I'm ready. Just like a good leader in the locker room and on the pitch, we got to lead by example. We got to have a strong show, pick up the boys. So let's do it, man.
Yeah, we got to turn it around here, and at least there's always positives around the AJC. I want to thank everybody for the watch along, because those are tough to stomach, and I totally get it. If you guys tuned out, I had a lot of comments that it wasn't for anything I did. They just couldn't stomach it at 4-2, moved on, etc. But hey guys, it's ride or die with me. You know how it goes till the bitter end, fino alla fine, right? And as far as the subscribers go, we still got a lot of positives. And month of February, smash that subscribe button, because you're going to be entered to win the Palace kit with Dybala on the back. That is February's kit giveaway. And for our subscriptions, legend status, the 15-16 black and gold kit with Marquisio 8 on the back. All right, so it pays to subscribe. So thank you, everybody, for your continued support no matter what. It's great to see you all in here. The chat's running wild. I see Mamadou in there, Danny Oliveira, Isaac, Alex UVFC, Apex, Adam Khan, David Tamatsian. We're going to have a lot of fun, okay? We're going to have a lot of fun regardless of the result, because it's always fun to break things down and get people's views, because this had people kind of all over the map when you're talking about just the game and the decisions. It really came down to a lot of decisions. Spalletti was throwing a curveball going into this game with Jonathan David all of a sudden having a groin issue, and he had to come up with something. And the big discussion was Openda. Do you put Openda in there? Do you put Mac forward? What happens everywhere else? And what he ended up deciding to go with was Di Gregorio, Kalulu, Bremer, Kelly, Cambiaso, Locatelli, Thuram, Chico Conceição, Cope Miners, Ildiz, and McKennie. What did you think was going to be the decision? Or not even what you thought was going to be the decision. What did you think of that decision going into this game? Because a lot of the talk in the pregame was just get Openda in there, natural player up top there, and play it that route. What did you think? What would you have done, Trim?
Yeah, so initially, I'm more of a traditionalist. Like, I like players playing in their natural positions. I just feel that the game flows better and it's less guesswork. But because of what we've seen out of McKennie this season in particular, he's kind of just been that Swiss Army knife, that utility guy. So I wasn't actually too, let's say, worried or disappointed with how he decided to line up yesterday. And actually, the way the game started, I think we could all agree that it was the right decision at that point to start, and then just kind of see how the game flows and go from there. Didn't really have too much of an issue with that. And especially with the roster construction of what we had going into that match with a lot of injuries, he kind of had no choice. So I wasn't too disappointed or upset with having that roster start the way it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quite honest. I'm feeling, I mean, it should be a no-brainer. If you have an attacking player, you have another attacking player out, you play that attacker, right?
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, imagine that becoming a discussion that you're going to Mac going up top. And that's the reality of what we face. Apex puts it pretty good right here, saying, imagine having forwards so poor at your disposal that you're playing Big Mac as your 9. That's literally what we were staring down the barrel of. That was the decision that Spalletti took. And we move forward with that, and then we'll get into game highlights as we'll rip through this, okay, to get to the aftermath. 15th minute in. Oh, man, this is like blood boiling, okay? Why on earth? You could see it a mile away. And I'm watching this game on the watch along, and I'm literally calling. I go, here comes this press by Galatasaray to win this ball back deep in our territory. You opt for a throw-in towards the middle of the pitch. Not only towards the middle of the pitch, but back towards our area because you're so deep in our territory. Kenan Yildiz is running back towards our area. Stay up the sideline. How naive we played disgusted me in this game. I've been saying it for weeks now. The cheap goals need to stop. You started this game off breaking fundamentals. Cambiasso to even throw it to him, but Yildiz to even ditch the sideline, which you were glued to practically the rest of the game. That's when you choose to ditch the sideline? Try to retain the ball, get it up that sideline, hold your shape. If you lose it up there, it's no damage. You're covered. We lose it there. They pounce on it. This was a good shot from Sarab, by the way, to finish there. It's 1-0 down instantly. But just ridiculous to avoid fundamentals. Now, fortunately for us, a minute later, Cambiasso skins Yilmaz out on the flank, and he runs straight at that defense. Kalulu makes an intense run. Like, I didn't even see Mac anywhere in that area. He wasn't. Kalulu makes that run back post, gets up, parried by Chadwick there, and Cope Miners, money on the spot, taps it home. 1-1. Okay, let's go. You needed a shkafalavacha. Okay, you needed a slap in the face to get going, but here you are. Well, 16 minutes later, we win the ball. Loca pops it up to Cope Miners. I thought his touch a little too heavy, and it was, but he saves it, gets it to Mac. Mac doesn't even think twice about it, puts it in his path. This thing was a screamer. Top bins. What a hit. Where the hell has that been? Jesus.
It's about time. Yeah.
NASA was ready to take that thing off one of the satellites, and that thing goes top bins.
Yep.
Unbelievable goal. 2-1. Great work. Okay? Keep it rolling. There was an issue, though. A couple issues. You saw Bremer leave. You saw Cambiasso on a yellow with his hands full with Yilmaz. We thought we almost saw another yellow and he was going to get sent off. Fans started getting nervous there. Those two things impacted this game greatly, as Gatti had to step in for Bremer. And at halftime, Spalletti makes a decision, and he brings in Juan Cabal. I was in the minority, and I felt like I was alone on the watch along when I said, I am not putting any of the options in. I'll take my chances with Cambiasso. Where were you at with that change at halftime? Because I had zero trust in Cabal. And I said, I don't trust Cabal. He's brain dead. And Kostic is brain dead and slow. And he'll get torched anyways. I'm taking my chances with Cambiasso. People said, move McKennie back. Bring Openda up. Okay, maybe. But McKennie, I thought, for how little work he had to do up there, was actually holding his own. He was actually holding his own. So it was one of these battles. But what did you think about the Cabal switch?
I actually was thinking the same thing at halftime. I was just kind of reprocessing the first half in my head during the commercial break, trying to think of, okay, is he going to make any changes? Obviously, Cambias was on that yellow. Me personally, with the way the game was going, I know I've been very hard on Cambiaso in the past pods that I've been on prior to his performance against Inter, and he's had a couple of strong showings lately. So with that being said, and the magnitude of the match, you're up 2-1, funny enough, going into second half. I would have actually done the exact same thing. I would have left everything the same because of the options on the bench. You don't trust Cabal, and you don't trust some of the other guys to come in and do a job. Cambiaso was getting torched on that side by Yilmaz as it was already. He already had his hands full, like you said. That's something that we're going to have to really address going into the next match, because that is a weakness, an area of weakness for us.
Everything happened on that side. Everything happened on that side.
Yeah, and it was like a snowball effect. And go figure, you're going into the second half up 1, and that one decision created a ripple effect throughout the entire lineup and the entire game. So yeah, again, it's one of those things where for the majority, we've been game-to-game situations. We've said Spalletti's gotten majority of the subs right in a lot of the games that he's done. But that was one instance and one example where he actually got it wrong, unfortunately.
I mean, and this is where the battle goes, and we'll get into it more after the highlights. But I mean, God, I can't help but feel damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, that's true.
The high percent, like I said, I was alone in saying I'd leave it the same for a bit here in the second half, and see how it goes. I was a little nervy about Cambiaso, but not super. The way he was playing was okay. The two of them were battling pretty good. Now, when you look at this decision and whatnot, again, that faith, that confidence in these guys off the bench, the depth was nowhere near the same. If you're looking at Galatasaray to Juve, like nowhere near the same. Okay?
Yeah.
They're bringing bench options, and it's like we don't even have faith in anybody coming off our bench. Bremer had to leave, and Gatti had to step in, and that's another big thing for me, because they were down 2-1. They're at home. You know they're coming in the second half. Like, they are coming at us. And they grew. And the aggression started to go up. Without Gleison Bremer, I feel like we cowered. We cowered. You don't hold that stability. Everything else goes from him. He's the rock. He's your stalwart. He's the stud. Call him whatever the hell you want. I feel like we faded because those two instances were massive for Juve. And you are in, well, we'll get to the second leg, but Cambiaso is going to miss the second leg. Cabal is one option. He's going to be gone there. You're going to be makeshift yet again in the return, all right? But we'll get to the second half, 49th minute. This is frustrating because Cabal has no business going up for that ball unless you go up and you win it. It doesn't matter if Locatelli steps up in there too. If you're making that stand, you make damn sure that you get that ball out. He stops. Loca doesn't win it. Neither one of them win it. He's just abandoned his player on the side there who ends up taking a rip. Di Gregorio stops it low and hard going back post, but it's a tap in there. It's a tap in for Noah Lang, and you're at twos. Frustrating stuff immediately with Cabal. 60th minute. This is the first foul on Cabal that gets a yellow. This was Yilmaz again, cooking him on the side there. And this free kick, okay, it's whipped in there. It's whipped in there. It takes a slight deflection. And I even see Di Gregorio taking a ton of heat. And we've allowed, 13, 14 goals in how many of the last few games? Like, it's unacceptable, okay? This is the one goal out of all these, and it might have got tapped in on a rebound or a scramble. But when you watch this from the camera angle right behind Di Gregorio, his hands are like so far apart as he's diving to make this save. I could drive a Freightliner through his hands. They're so far apart. Yeah. And the deflection didn't really change the trajectory of the ball. Like, it's still going in the exact same spot he's diving to. That one for me, get your hands together, man. Because even if that ball doesn't move, he's got his hands out like this. That's the only one out of all these goals where I was like, D-grade, just get those damn hands together. But even that, it's not the be-all, end-all because it was whipped in there. Now, we're going to continue on. This was just a disaster. 67th minute. You are a professional footballer, okay? You happen to find yourself on Juventus, okay? You are brought into a game at halftime for protection, for safety measures, because the player you're replacing is on a card. You're at the fucking halfway line, man. He beats you to 2 steps. You hold on to him desperately. You get your second yellow and you're sent off. If he beats you, he beats you. You cannot get sent off. Shambolic, man.
Yeah, you're hurting the team. Like the poor decision making, right? Like you already know you're on a card. Like you said, if you're clear and beat, it is what it is at that point. Just take it and go from there.
I have no words for that kind of garbage. I have no words for that kind of garbage. Cabal. And now you're in dire straits. And then from there, it just gets nasty, you guys. 74th minute, Thuram. What is he thinking? What on earth are you thinking?
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
3-2 in your own area. You're dribbling around. You're putting it back to... What the... Why is that the play? How naive are we? Unbelievable. Lloyd Kelly obviously stripped by Osimhen. Noah Lang right there and then puts it home.
Yeah, he's flat-footed, just standing there, right?
Yeah,
kind of jammed up. It's like, yeah.
Osimhen's right there, like, next to him. It's just like, what on earth are you thinking, Kefren? 86, and then 86th minute, we're literally standing and watching. Literally standing and watching. Colt Miners lets his player blow right by him, Bowie. You've got a pass inside. Kostic is God knows where. God knows where Kostic is, okay? Because Colt Miners is the one there all of a sudden on the outside next to Bowie, and he just watches him cruise right in. Kelly's taking a ton of flack. He can't win the ball from Osimhen. That's a battle. That's a duel that not everybody gets the ball from Osimhen, but he's going to take his heat. And then he doesn't want to commit because it could be an easy PK. Di Gregorio takes flack on this goal too. That thing's drilled posting in, like over there. So even that one I give Di Gre. I mean, I'm not going to go all in on him on that one, but okay, you can make the argument for the angle, how bad the angle was, but the thing was drilled. In the end, this was just falling asleep, and it was just shambles, man. You're talking about some of the substitutions that he did end up to go with Spalletti in this match, and he's taken heat. He's taken heat for the decisions he made at half. With Cabal de Cambiaso, you had to make a change with Gatti to come in for Bremer. But was that the change? Like, maybe at that point there was an argument to go back 3 and move Colt Miners back there rather than bring Gatti into the heart. But I'll be quite honest, I've said something about Kelly that we'll get into because it's come up as of late. But other than that, 80th minute, Miretti for Thuram. 81st minute, Openda for Yildiz. I mean, it's not a whole lot in there, man. This game was 2 big instances for me. Having to make a change to a bench guy in Cabal that there's no faith in, and Bremer leaving. And now you got to deal with that beyond just this matchup. But it ends there. The stats, everything's just one-way traffic. First half, solid, but wow, from a 2-1 lead, it finishes with 22 total attempts for Galatasaray, 5 big chances. They only had 1 big chance in the first half. They only had one big chance in the first half. It was second half disaster for Juve. We finished with 7 total attempts, 3 big chances. All our big chances were in the first half. Disaster. If you want to look at some of the ratings, here you go. Di Gregorio 6.1, Kalulu 5.7, Bremer 6.6, Kelly 4.8, Cambiaso 6.3, Colt Miners 7.8. We wasted Colt Miners best game. When is it ever going to happen again? Locatelli 6.3, Thuram 6, Chico 6.6, McKennie 7.1, Yildiz 6.5. Dude, my goodness. Where do we start here in this aftermath? I mean, Spalletti's taken some heat. He's taken some heat for this game. Changes the subs. How do you think he handled it? How do you think he managed that? Obviously, with Cabal, none of us felt the faith. Very little felt the faith in pulling Cabal in there. What do you think about Spalletti in this game?
A big one too is, I was going to say, how many times specifically you, but also a bunch of us have hammered home about Gatti in the heart. But again, his options were so limited. So, obviously now hindsight is, do you go back to a back three with Kelly, Kalulu, and Coop Miners? But then who plays in the heart? Kelly? That's a little dicey too, I would say. It's hard to say if I'd have a little more faith in him than I would Gatti, but I think I could say I do, just based on the fact that, what we've seen out of Gatti, he's just taken such a huge step back. But again, his hands are tied. So it sucks because I want to dissect this and break this down so many different ways, but it just keeps going back to the same thing with this team. So it's lack of depth. The depth isn't even depth. That's the sad part. We highlighted, like, our depth isn't even depth. Cabal, like some of these guys, like, we've been hammering this home when we suffered defeats throughout the year. So there's lack of depth severely, which ties Spalletti's hands. So, he can only do so much in terms of trying to make the right adjustments or trying to make the right lineup decisions, because he's limited to what he can actually put out there. And it goes back to the guys not being Juventus caliber, which, of course, conveniently, not so much after the Inter match, but this match specifically, you see it bandied around throughout the X universe. These guys are not Juventus caliber and all this stuff. And I mean, it's a pretty obvious statement to make. I think anyone who follows this team, or just if you're the average fan that sees Juventus, you look at our roster, and to your point, I'll look at Galatasaray's roster and see who they had to bring on yesterday. Icardi, Leroy Sané, like some of these guys, Sasha Bowie,
good player.
Like some of these guys, like, you could argue they start on our club right now based on who we have, right? So, I mean, that's just it. There's not really much to say other than that. I feel like personally, after the 3-2 goal, I think they just gave up almost, in a way. It's like they ran out of steam, they ran out of energy, and they just saw the relentless press. The atmosphere obviously helps with bringing energy to Galatasaray specifically, and it was just a snowball effect. It's just all downhill after that.
If you're talking about Spalletti, it's hard for me to go in on him. It's hard for me to really go in on him in this game, because, I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's not like when I'm sitting there trying to navigate in my head what I would do, of all the options that were available to him to make happen in this game, there wasn't a single one where I was like, that's exactly what I would do. I was like, God, man, I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that. That's why I'd take a chance with Cambiaso just even sitting there, because the reality is it's so damn skinny. And if I'm continuing with another takeaway from this team, right now, it's that it seems like any slight, even the slightest of deviations from our one main lineup, everything falls apart. That's insane. That is tough to deal with. That literally shows you that there is just no depth to this team. I'd go as far to say that this is the worst I've ever seen a Juve roster as far as depth goes. Last year we had more depth. You had Mbangula that could get goals. You had Savona who could come in do a job. You brought in Kolomowani for some protection in January. You brought Renato Vega in for some protection. We had more depth with Bremer out for a season.
Yeah. Crazy, eh?
And we sent our captain out, Danilo, and we still had more depth than we have this season. This, I'd easily say, is the worst we've been for depth. I might even say ever, as far as me being a fan. There is next to nothing there. It is very hard for me to go all in on Spalletti for this one. I really can't. I feel he is literally at a point where you basically have one lineup, and that's it. And of course, with the guys in the depth, on the depth chart that come in that can't cover for these guys, that can't do a job, these guys are going to get burnt out. And sure enough, here you find yourself in a situation where you're one win out of your last 6 matches. These guys are getting burnt. It's just like you need these other guys to step up. But on top of that, for me, you have key guys that their performances are fluctuating drastically. We're talking on a game-to-game basis, coming in and out of good performances to poor. That's difficult to deal with, man. Like, you cannot have key players being the ones that put you in holes in games. You can't have your key guys do it. You can't have Yildiz lose that ball in the area. You can't have Cambiasso throwing it to him, running back to our area there. You can't have these guys doing that. You can't have Thuram deciding at 3-2 in Istanbul. I want to dribble in my own area and just suey my own defender here. You can't do that. This is a big problem that Spalletti, I don't know if he can overcome. Like, the consistency is on the players' part.
Yeah, it's all over the map, right?
They got to figure it out. They're yo-yos.
Yeah.
And dare I raise this question, because these guys never get spoken about because we love them. But guess what? Kenan Yildiz has been invisible since that contract signing.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to talk about that? Have we finally found out that the kid is in fact human, or is it just one of the dips because he has had dips? He had a dip earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And then come around. I'm not worried about it, but you can't have a key guy like that disappearing in games.
Yeah.
He's important to us. I said it yesterday. My frustration with him was being glued to a sideline and not impacting the game whatsoever. Guess what? I watched another little Turk there yesterday, Akun, running all over the place, finding pockets of space and drifting wherever the hell he had to. And he was creating havoc for us. Because that was another problem we had. Our midfield was so spaced out. But Yildiz has to find ways to impact games. He cannot just be going through motions.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is everybody saying, well, that's the team's fault. And it's funny how the narrative changes when it's players that we love. I'm very much a fan of Kenan Yildiz. But no player is free from criticism. He has to impact games. What do you think about him? It literally goes back to that contract signing. These games since that signing, he's been on, and it could be just coincidental. But he's got to play a part, man.
I think part of it is that. I think part of it could be fatigue, even though he's been getting pulled out during the second half as a substitute in the last few matches. I think it's a lot of that, taking on the weight of trying to be the main guy, the main creator, facilitator, like kind of the all around guy for us going forward. I think that takes a toll on him. But again, it's not it shouldn't be an excuse for him, because we've seen the quality, and he's our guy, he's our star player, so he has to be able to manage the consistency game in and game out, and he's definitely been taking a dip. I think another thing too is you notice it more specific to when also on the right side, when you see Chico struggling, because even he had a tough time yesterday, and he's had a pretty poor stretch, I would say, in the last few matches as well, because he's just getting neutralized and shut down. Every time he tries to cut down the wing and cross it in, the defender's a step with him, blocks it, kicks it out, it's a corner. Like, he was not effective at all. So I think that you see that a lot when it's both flanks getting shut down. So to your point, it's like, I know you've mentioned about wanting to see Yildiz in the middle, and I've also been on board with that, seeing him in a 10 role, let's say. Free roam, kind of drift left or right, doesn't matter which side of the field, but put him centrally, because he'll be able to use his creativity and not just be stapled to that sideline. But in other matches, he's been able to play that left side and also still get off the sideline. So I don't know what it is about the last few matches specifically, where it just seems like he's kind of morphed into Kostic and kind of stayed there. So yeah, but to your point, everybody is fair game for criticism. And I think that it's okay to say that, like, he's had a dip and he needs to be better. You need to call him out and just say it for what it is. And then, hopefully they respond.
He's got to find a way. One thing I was thinking about doing that match yesterday was actually bringing Boga in and moving Yildiz away from that sideline to get him more involved in the game. I said, why don't you play Yildiz off of McKennie and get somebody that's like actually legit a big time threat for goals and offensive actions and sequences. Get him there, because they were playing him physical. Like, the second he got the ball in the touchline, he had nowhere to go. Like, he had absolutely nowhere to go. And this brings me to yet another takeaway from this game. How naive Juventus is in these games. Like, we're so naive in how we play. It's like there is a drastic difference that I believe comes to light when we play in Italy versus Europe. The speed, the tempo, it's completely different. And you could see countless times these guys are too slow. Remember Stuttgart last year? Teams that run us hard, we cannot keep up. The pace, the tempo, it's just too quick. We need to develop our game so that even when you're playing in Italy, this is why I always say, even when you're playing Park Bus, tempo, rate of play, boom, boom, let the ball do the work. You should know where you're going to go, where your teammate needs to be, bang, bang, bang. Like, it needs to be muscle memory. Like, you just have it sorted out. We play such slow brands in Italy. It is the slowest in terms of tempo in all the
100%.
top leagues, by far as well.
Yep.
That affects us in Europe as well. And I think you saw that yesterday, because Galatasaray played fast and they ran hard. It was physical. We were slow. We were thinking like, oh, it's another day, in Italy. We're just going to knock this thing about. We're going to have time to turn. Look, guess what? That time's not there. What are you doing with it? Yeah. There is a big difference there. Do you see that as well? The difference from playing in Serie A to Champions League? Because
100%,
that affects our guys too.
100%, and it actually ties into something in regards to Spalletti specifically, because one thing that I found very interesting is that full disclosure, I missed the first goal because I was in and out of a call, and I had seen Galatasaray get the first one. It happened so fast. By the time I walked to my truck, I had my phone in my pocket, I pulled it out, I'm like, oh, we scored. So one thing that I've noticed with Spalletti specifically is that when he wants to turn it on, it's like a switch, and he wants them to counter. Let's say they go down one, they oftentimes respond and get a quick goal right away. I've noticed that a few times this year. So one thing that I've often wondered is, how can we maintain that? Or it's like, how can we just kind of, instead of going through lull periods after, like, you just get a goal right away to tie the game, boom, keep pressing, keep going, try to get another one. Like, oftentimes right after that, it's like they revert back to this slow kind of Serie A mentality of like, okay, let's sit back, let's possess the ball, let's try to break this thing down. It's like, but you don't have the luxury of time in Champions League, like you said, because a lot of these teams are just press. It's like, it's that Serie A mentality of slow down, park the bus, try to break down a low block. It's like Spalletti, I find at least that he is more up-tempo, more press-based coach, and we've seen that in the last stretch that we've had with him, and it's very refreshing, and I hope that we can continue to build off of that and get players in that system that will adapt for him.
Yeah, and I mean, as Cope Miners, I have mixed feelings coming out of this game as well, because one of our issues that also affects tempo big time, the lack of options. And I said I liked what McKennie was doing, but it's difficult for him because that's probably the one thing when you're trying to be hold up in a game like that. He's doing a job. He's trying to fill a gap. But there's a night and day difference, and there's one thing that doesn't get spoken about enough when it comes to Jonathan David. That's his positioning, because a lot of the time yesterday the options weren't there. That had to do with the striker position. It had to do with our midfield. Our midfield, my goodness, they needed megaphones to communicate with each other. So as great as it is to see Cope Miners advance so much and bag those 2 goals, a lot of the other time in this game, there was really bad spacing between these players, between Cope Miners, Locatelli, Thuram, and the options weren't there. Too often our guys were getting the ball, and even if they had the rate of play, and it wasn't there. So that tells me maybe the legs weren't with us, and we had what we had, not a lot of rest between those games, but you have to find a way to bring that level because you don't have the depth. So whatever you do in between that Derby d'Italia to this game has to be focused on making sure these guys can maintain a certain level. But there was a lot of things that Spalletti had to battle through that I kind of feel for him, and I can't really go in. I can't really agree with the fans taking aim at him. However, it's a difficult one. Could he have navigated better? It's hard because it's all speculation. Maybe he would have been better off playing McKennie, dropping him back, trusting him because he's more trustworthy than Cabal. I mean, that's an easy high percentage option. When we did make that change, McKennie moved to the left side. Yildiz moved up top for a bit, and that completely gave us nothing. That gave us completely nothing at all. And that's one of the reasons I was like, I don't know. And even if you had put Openda in there, I'm like, Openda to me is like the runner. So even in a hold-up situation, I don't trust him. So it's very difficult. I mean, yeah, McKennie probably in hindsight would have been the call to drop back there in that left spot. But at the end of the day, I really feel the tempo and rate of play in which we play doesn't translate good enough in Champions League. Now you get to a core discussion. Okay? Bremer's injury plays into this. For those of you who may not have seen, we're waiting for the update, but it says right now it's going to be 1 month out. So 1 month without Bremer. And you had mentioned, some of the concerns. Now Kelly in the Heart is at the end. He has played in the Heart. Guess where? In Serie A, we've been able to get by with it when he has. Right. With Cope Miners on there. Why? Because it's slower.
Pace.
This discussion's been coming up a lot lately. People have changed based on yesterday's game. They change all the time. But give me your core. Who's your Juventus core that you're comfortable moving on with? Mine has not changed, and I've been steady on it for weeks now. And nothing has changed my mind.
Okay, what are yours?
My core, I still have Gleison Bremer in there. People are saying sell him. He's injury prone now, etc. Guys, the days of him drawing the big numbers, I think, are gone. 30 years old, major injury, now little stuff. We're better off to keep him around, but you have to bring in another world-class defender in the summer, period. You need a top drawer center back 1,000% this summer on top of some other center backs. But Bremer's still in my core. Locatelli is in my core. Kalulu is in my core. Yildiz is in my core. And Kefren Thuram, you are just hanging on by a thread, man. I'm telling you. But Kefren Thuram is also in my core. That's it. And if you're talking about Kelly, because this discussion has come up and everybody said, oh, no, you can't sell Kelly. If that offer came in for Kelly, I wouldn't even think twice and I'd make the move. Because what did I say? When the pace of the game gets quick, this guy can't handle it. He can't handle it when the pace of the game comes quick. For me, Lloyd Kelly, even moving on, is a bench defender at Juve. If you get things right and raise that quality bar up. So for me, I see it as getting 30 to 40 million, a ton of capital on a bench player.
Yeah, agree.
So that's my core. Bremer, Kalulu, Locatelli, Yildiz, Thuram. That's my core that I'm locking into.
It's hard for me to really argue or deviate from those players that you said. I think they're the only ones that jump off the page at me. I don't even have anyone else in mind that I would say, okay, like squeeze this guy in there. Even my buddy over here, because I understand that he's pure capital. So if they decide to move off him, financially that helps us get more depth and make the team better. So I'm not going to even put David in there because I understand the business side of things, right? So I think it's safe to say that those are the core players. You could even make an argument that if a strong number came in for Thuram, you'd have to definitely consider it as well. As much as we do love him, and the connection with Lillian, obviously, but like we like him as a player, but a game like yesterday is a perfect example. Just dumb mistakes, and it's game to game where he raises his level, and then all of a sudden he makes that stupid mistake where he's dribbling into opposing players, passes to Kelly, who's flat-footed, and it's in the back of your net. It's like you can't make those plays, right? But yeah, everybody else is expendable. Everybody else, for the most part, they can bring in a fair number. To your point of Kelly, like that's exactly what I was thinking. I had him in and around that. If you get an offer between 30 and 40 million, I think that's fair. I know, we kind of joke about it in the group chat, the AJC Army chat about, if the Prem teams come in for 50 to 60 million. But to your point, where did he come from? The Premier League. The Premier League's known as a faster league. Why do you think Bournemouth got rid of him? Because he cannot play in a faster league. So he can be a useful player for us, but as a bench option. But again, if someone comes in this summer and sees his performances with us, the better ones, and says, we'll make you an offer, I think it's pretty hard to not take it and walk away from it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you see the comments in here with certain players and certain price tags. I mean, still, I'm saying that's the core. There is a number probably on a few of those heads too, where you'd have to consider if you were Juve.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is how they spend it. And this summer, we'll see what they do and what their plans are. But right now, this really sucks. This is a stinger because you're coming back with like a 10% chance of getting through now. I mean, you have to overturn 3 goals at home. Is it like completely out of the question? No. Anything can happen. I mean, Jesus. Lightning could strike. They could. It's not like we can't score goals. And that's the part that pisses me off the most about this game yesterday, is because if the stronger level of Spalletti's game showed up, they looked suspect at the back. And it looked like, man, you can have chances and goals against this team. And I said it in this matchup that I think you can create damage there. And we saw that with a makeshift lineup. Cole Miners had no goals or assists in how many games? 30 games leading to this one. He bagged 2 against them. There's suspect there. Now, Juve's going to have to deal with something in the second leg, and we'll cross that bridge after the Como match, because even Como's going to be difficult. And now you have no Kalulu, because obviously the league is a clown show, and they would never do the right thing after admitting fault. No, we'll just keep everything the same. So Como's going to be very, very tricky. This team, though, right now, 1 win in 6, last 6. Are the alarm bells sounding? I mean, yes and no, but are the alarm bells sounding off for you? Is it the same thing we've seen time and time again with all these other coaches that come in and this group?
I think for me, it can be a little bit of both, but the reason why I would say it's more so alarm bells right now in this moment is because of the fact that we're losing guys to injuries. We have no depth. And then we have this shitty situation with Kalulu being out for the next game because Seti has a joke. So I think it's all encompassing around, or all revolving around, the injuries. If it was, we had a healthy squad and we went through the stretch, I just chalk it up to, it's just a poor stretch in the schedule and in the season. And I mean, it's not really a coincidence that this is happening against the quote unquote bigger clubs in Serie A, because we did illustrate and point out many times going into these big matches of like this big stretch of who we're playing, and then sprinkle in the playoff two-legged Champions League matches in between, right? So, Como Saturday, second leg I think is Wednesday, Galatasaray. Saturday the following week, Roma. Like, they're better teams. They're better teams than your Verona and Sassuolo and Cagliari. So, and yes, Gio, thank you for pointing out we lost to Cagliari. I get it, but that doesn't mean just because we lost to Cagliari, like that was considered a bad stretch. We actually had some good games in there where we won majority of that stretch.
But the Cagliari, but even if you look at these games, this is why I say like the alarm bells are going off, but they're also not, because you look at some of the games, like the Cagliari game we had, there's a lot of shots. I think, I don't know how many, 25 opportunities or something. I don't know how many big chances come out of it, but like you got to get through that game. Obviously the 1-0, but I think the alarm bells for me are sounding off at the mistakes. It's the cheap goals. That's where the alarm bells are sounding off. I mean, if you're talking about getting the wins, you look at the Lazio game, again, garbage goals. You concede garbage goals. Like, we have to shut down conceding garbage goals. The mistakes. Why are the mistakes happening rapidly? And that's what Spalletti's main focus needs to be right now, is stopping those from going down. When we had this stretch where Spalletti was crushing it and this team was rolling, it wasn't about the goals we were scoring. We had quite a few goals, but we were barely conceding.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, the floodgates have opened. And when you break down every game, and you're with us here on these post-match, every game has infuriating goals that we've allowed from ridiculous mistakes. And again, I go back to key players being involved in these mistakes. And it's unacceptable. They have to clean it up. So it's just, and this is why I get into just how naive I felt we were in that game against Galatasaray. Playing out of the back against the press that's been ripping you apart, and this persistence in doing so. Can you fucking just do fundamentals and pump it up, regain your shape, and go from there? Like, sometimes one step backwards is a couple steps forward. No, like, we have to be so stubborn and stuck in the way we play. Guys, this is not Italy. So it was very, very frustrating. And I think, there's so many factors at play that right now you have to erase this thing if you're Spalletti and the team. And you need to just go back to the fundamental. Like, guys, yes, I want you to do something, but if the play is safety, you take safety. Like, we need to stop conceding. Period. That has to happen. Now you get into Gleison Bremer and his injury. So, what's the play? I'm going to tell you right now. There is no shot I trust Gatti in the heart of a backline.
Agree.
So, and again, you talk about options. Sure as hell ain't many. Thanks for the goals yesterday, Cope. You're back at left center back. And Kelly's going to be in the heart. Because we've done it before. And you got to go back to this back three. And the whole back three, back four thing, guess what, guys? It's always been a little bit hybrid. Because you got guys free flowing in Cambiaso and McKennie. Right. And it's always been hybrid. So I've never seen it as a true 4-2-3-1 or that we completely abandoned 3-4-2-1. You're still defending pretty much with 5 guys across the back.
Yeah, Loka drops back too. Yeah.
Yeah, or Loka draw, like you're always still defending five guys across the back. So for me, it is what it is. It's just the offensive duties that slightly alter. I'm going back to Kelly, Kalulu, and Cope Miners. The KKK. Easy.
They're gonna have to hold down the fort back there. They did a good job when he was out previously, right? So I mean, I saw a comment in the chat there. Dell's made a good point. It's like we literally just have to hold on until after Roma, and then go on a little run after that. So like just get through the next 3 matches specifically, and then just go from there. It's sad to say, but I mean, this is where we're at. This is what we have to deal with, right?
And we'll call him Triple K just to clean it up. We'll call it Triple K.
We'll just
all right. Yeah. All right, Triple K. I think that's the play. I think that's absolutely the play. You know. One of the things coming out of this game that we have to discuss, and this is going to be Trim's baby to open up, because we are going to get to Trim the Fat, everybody. Listen to that sizzle. Listen to that sizzle.
I can smell the bacon right now.
All right. So this floating around. As the renewal discussions are there for Spalletti, and the reports come out, Juve has zero intentions of changing their plans. They are locking in with Spalletti. They continue to work on a renewal plan. They want to lock in for a couple of years, not just let the option kick in on Champions League qualification. Fans have been saying, and I saw the comments after yesterday, that, listen, there's a reason the objective is in place. If he does not hit that, you do not stick with him, period. Where are you at on this whole Spalletti renewal situation?
So if we're going to trim the fat on this topic, based on if we should renew Spalletti, it's funny because initially going into the season with Tudor, I wanted someone, with a little more experience. I thought there were better options. We started with Tudor, transitioned into Spalletti. Wasn't convinced in the beginning, in the initial. I know you were also with me as well, saying that, we'll see how it goes, but I wouldn't commit to him right away until we see what he can offer. I think we were both under the same impression that like we could see him, seeing us through the year, getting us top 4, but maybe we weren't 100% convinced. For me right now, as it stands, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you have to renew him, contrary to what I know was bandied around yesterday on X. But no, I think it's pretty obvious. He's brought stability. One thing that we've been crying for in the past few seasons, because I'd argue we haven't had this kind of stability since Allegri, and I know not a lot of people liked Allegri's style, but one thing that he did bring to us was stability. Standing out there when we were the minus 15 points, like we need a guy, a face to kind of lead us forward. I'd argue, as much as I wanted Motta, he was definitely not that, and Tudor was not that. So experience is a big thing for me. But in saying that, you renew him, but the board has to be behind him and back him, meaning that we need financial support this summer. And I mean, if you didn't see it this summer, going into this year, you're seeing it now, the lack of depth. We need depth for him, and we need better options moving forward. So I think it's pretty obvious you got to renew him. I think he's brought a style of play that we can all appreciate. He doesn't really deviate too much from like his idea of how he wants us to play. And I think that's also a big thing is, bringing stability and kind of cohesiveness to the group. He seems to get along with the players very well, and that you hear they talk highly of him, the players that are here. Again, whether they're here this summer or not, that remains to be seen, but he's a good man manager. I think now is the time. I don't see any other better options in the summertime. So I think it's pretty obvious you renew him.
Yeah. Guys, just a reminder, get those likes up, okay? We have a poll running right now on the Extend Spalletti discussion. I'm going to say this, I'm going to reiterate what I've been saying. Juve has finally hit stage 1. Okay? You had a large portion of the fan base that believed this wasn't a coaching issue all along and that it's the players. Some that are pushing this narrative to you don't extend Spalletti, he's part of the issue too, and etc. Listen, it's a bit of everything, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're looking at the coaching situation, it was an issue. Because if you're going, and some are going back to Allegri, we should have never gotten rid of Allegri. These people need to move on, okay? Holy smokes. Listen, I'll break it all down for you. Coaching was an issue because you are given what you are given. When you're a coach, you don't just stay set in stone on what you believe if it doesn't work for the majority of the group of players that you have. If you're going to tell me Allegri was 100% right in his approach, okay, that Juve needs to surrender the ball to every team they face, I'm going to say fuck that every time, okay?
Agree.
Our possession percentages drop to like 40%, and you want to win games against park buses on transition, whatever, when they barely push two because these sides are happy with draws against Juve. No. So that was broken. You want to come in with Motta. Well, guess what? Motta didn't have the locker room. That was a shit show. He had to go. Tudor was what he was doing the best for the group overall. I don't believe so. Spalletti is the first guy in a while that has shown you football that can not concede a lot of goals up until now, but I'm going to get to that. Okay? Extending Spalletti. Do you do it? For me, yes. Absolutely, you extend Spalletti. We are finally at stage one. If you're talking about Spalletti, he's the first coach in a while that has something that is going good for the group. The way he wants to play can prevent us from conceding goals and still scoring, okay? And it's more progressive. He just needs to find consistency to bring that across over into Europe. But the consistency and the drop-off for me is because he cannot sustain what he wants to do, because this is the worst depth I've ever seen on a Juve roster as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
So for me, you are finally at stage one. A proper style of play, a play that is correct, that will work for the majority of our players. And if you add some proper talents to it, can really excel. And now you're finally at a point where you can identify the issues and correct them in the roster. When you play a style or a brand that the majority of your group all suffer in, you can't even identify who you want your core to be to move forward with. You finally got there now. So abandoning it to start all over isn't the play. That's not the play for me. And especially when you factor in the fact that Juve is still 1 year away from not depending on results for finances. Because we are still going into a summer where we need certain results financially. And that's the scary part. Once we can get rid of that, you can move even more freely. But the reality, that's the situation. So for me, you don't start over. I would extend Spalletti. 88%, 89% extend Spalletti.
So
11% no.
To play devil's advocate, I want to kind of flip this a bit, because there's been rumors out there from the media saying that it's also up to Spalletti to decide if he wants to stay. If I had to ask you, your gut feeling, again, we don't know what he's thinking, but do you feel like he would want to stay? Or do you feel that it's too early to tell because it'll be based around like how the rest of the season goes? But like your early impressions of Spalletti, do you think he would want to stay if they offered him an extension?
Yes. I believe he will, and I'll tell you why. Because I actually believe that the backing of the board he felt in that situation. I think that situation that happened in the Derby d'Italia is more symbolic than maybe some want to give credit for. But I actually believe for the first time in a long time, you have harmony, at least from the brass to the manager and to the players. And I actually
Right.
do believe he's offered that. And I don't think that's a very common thing. So for
Yeah.
me, I believe he wants to stay, and I believe he will stay, and I believe they're working on the renewal, and it's going to happen. I actually have little fear or concern about him not accepting a renewal with Juve. Where are you at on it?
I think also too, again, I know he was not Juventino, the Napoli tattoo, all that stuff, but I think he's fully embraced the fact that like he's the head coach of Juventus. Like that's a big deal to him, especially for a guy with his pedigree. He's been around coaching the Azzurri. Obviously, is probably one of his, if not the career highlight for him, other than winning the Scudetto with Napoli. But in terms of like club football, like this is as big as it gets for him, and I don't see him going anywhere else that would top this. So it's almost like he knew coming into it when he was given the opportunity back in October when they signed him to be like kind of the caretaker manager. And then they said, we'll see. I think he's fully embraced that. And he said, you know what, like this could be my last kick at the can in terms of being a big time manager at a big time club. So, although we like to take shots at the roster as well, I do feel like if he's looking at the roster, he can feel comfortable saying, okay, I've got some pieces here moving forward that I can take with me. Yeah, it needs some quote unquote trim in the fat, pun intended, right? But I think he can see all of that and just be like, okay, to your point of the board backing. And again, this is why like there's two aspects of the board backing. There's backing him publicly and in the media and trying to motivate him to do well with the team, but financially is going to be the big thing. And again, I understand that, we have to take into account that they have to qualify for Champions League and they have to trim some numbers off the books or whatnot in this upcoming offseason. But that will be the big telltale sign for me is how aggressive is the board going to be this summer in terms of pumping finances into the team to make this team better. If they do and make up for the last few seasons and the lack thereof, I think it's going to speak volumes and we're going to see a completely different team next year in terms of depth and quality of players.
Yeah. You see here, Alfonso coming in here with, I believe the only reason to not extend his contract would be to secure a really top coach, the likes of Klopp or someone like that. Now, this is why I still say I'd extend Spalletti is the simple fact that Klopp needs the finances. Klopp needs the finances too, right? He's going to have demands. He's going to make those. And I think Spalletti's a little bit more manageable in your wheelhouse right now until Juventus really ups their revenue. And until that happens and until you have that more financial freedom, I just don't see this as a reality. That's why I'm thinking with all things considered right now at this point in time, Spalletti is a really good fit right now. And there is harmony there. I don't disrupt that. I don't disrupt that to chase something that we may or may not be able to fund properly.
Yeah. So in saying that, you're in agreement that there's nobody else right now, even heading into the summer, let's say, if there's other options available, like you can't think of one guy. Because I can think of one guy if we had to, meaning if he decided to leave or if the board, for whatever reason, decided not to extend, there's only one guy that I would want, but I know that it's not realistic in the sense that he has another option kind of waiting. And it's Enzo Maresca. And the only reason is because he's Juventino and he has experience coaching big clubs in the Premier League. I like him as a coach. I like his style of play. He's the only guy, but I know that he's kind of waiting around for City. So he'd be the only guy. But other than that, it's Spalletti. And that's it.
Yeah. It'd probably be Luis Enrique, if anything ever were to happen there for me. I'm a big fan of his. I can see the Maresca thing too. I really just feel right now Spalletti's the play.
Yeah,
I think for Juve
sure.
right now and moving forward. Now it's it's just interesting times. All these things with around Juve and the ups and downs, but the dips and all that. I can't put it on Spalletti. They're just. I literally believe this is the worst you'll ever see for depth from a Juve roster. And Camoli's taking heat for that too. Camoli's taking heat for that. It's funny. Fans can get in such uproars. I saw Ottolini taking shit. The guy literally just got here. Hasn't had nothing to do. They sent him to Turkey for the failed mission.
Yeah.
Like, the guy, or not Turkey, wherever the hell they say. Yeah, no, they sent him to Turkey on a failed mission. They
sent him to Turkey, yeah.
It's like, we just all need to calm down. I think you're seeing multiple factors at play. And it's unfortunate, but I don't think it's sustainable when you have no depth. You have Zagrova that we're still talking about fitness. February 18th, this guy looks like a futsal player when he comes in there. Meretti has taken he's taken a dive. He's taken a dive all of a sudden. From those good showings, those good cameos that had him on the cusp of like, hey man, we might have to look to go starter. Taking a dive. Jesus, Kostic, Cabal. Where's the depth? One injury at center back and you're done. Yeah. Home, the newcomer, gets injured for a month.
Yeah.
Like, and another thing with injuries, is it getting better? We're going to have to keep eyes because now all of a sudden guys are dropping again. Yeah. And that physical conditioning, it's tough. It's tough. These guys have to deal with it though because you want to play in all the comps. You just have to deal with it. You can't say, it's too many competition. No, you just have to find a way to deal with it. And we can't. So it's hard for me to go all in on Spalletti. We got to take it easy on Luciano, I think. But I think there's good foundation put there in place. Another headline from today, continuing. Vlahovic wants to stay. He's going to work with Juventus, and they're going to continue to work on this renewal. And Juve will take a stab at renewing Dusan Vlahovic. Anything to say on this whole thing with Vlahovic, Trim?
Actually, I do have something to say because it's funny. You guys know me from last season. I had the kit with his name, and then I put the David on it, for fun and whatever. Okay, so I'm a Vlahovic fan. Like, I bought his kit. I like the guy. I want to give him many, many opportunities, which we did. The club gave him many years, just like they did with a guy like Chiesa, just like they did with some of these other guys that eventually have moved on. Rabiot, I can go down the list, right? I think it's time. It's just time to move on. Again, I have nothing against him for what he offers on the field in terms of like, yes, he's our best forward, he's our best striker, whatever you want to call him right now. I totally understand that. I will never concede that. Not saying you'll never hear me say David's better right now because he's not showing that he is. But I think it comes a point in time where the guy had a big salary. His output was okay, but he's just very inconsistent like the rest of the group. So if you can move off of that and retain his salary and better the squad in other areas while picking up another striker, why wouldn't you? That's just all I have to say on that. Like, it's pretty clear and obvious. Like, he wants to work with the club and try to renew at a lower rate now, maybe because he's realizing that there's no other options and nobody wants to sign him at that high wage. Again, I think when you're given a path to move off of someone, the type of player that he is and better your squad, I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. We all I'm going to say is this. Show me the number. That's all I'm going to say. Show me the number. What is this number on renewal? I'm open to it. Because Juve needs one striker no matter what.
Yeah.
If Vlahovic leaves, you need two minimum, and you're not going to be spending money on both of them with the rest of the needs on this team. So show me the number. Show me the number first. I'm open to it. 2 year, okay? Maybe give you a shot for a sale, but like, show me the number. That's kind of where I'm at. Unless something changes drastically and we have all this money to splash, and you're going out grabbing a top level striker, which ain't going to happen for less than 70 mil. It's tough. It's a tough spot. I'm open to it. Show me the number. Show me the number. Even though I just said you got to get rid of this guy at all costs last summer. I know what I said. And it's just, my God, this team, I feel like with Spalletti, from what he's shown me that he can do with this group in terms of play, he obviously can't sustain it, but I'm blaming depth. I'm telling you, if you get the other gaps cleaned up, add a little bit of depth, you can deal with Vlahovic sticking around for even a 1-year renewal contract to figure things out, or a 2-year, etc. Like you can deal with that.
So what's he on right now?
Oh,
what's his? It's
12 mil. It's like 24 gross or something. 23 gross.
So let's say he halves it, so it's 6. To me, that's fair on a 1 year. At 6, I wouldn't necessarily say like I'd be happy about it, but I think it's fair.
I'd probably take that, to be honest, with what we need to do in the summer. The left side is dead on this team.
Yeah,
like your left side is dead. You have no center back depth whatsoever. I think you need a strong midfielder coming in as well. You have too much work to do.
Yeah.
At 6, I'd probably do it. You know, it's tough. It's tough.
The other side of it is that other options for that type of role, it's going to be too expensive. Because I'm a big Osimhen guy, especially after yesterday, the way he's played. Like, I don't know what it is. It just, I hated him at Napoli. I didn't think he was that great. Like, he bagged a lot of goals, but I just thought that there were other aspects of his game that he had to work on. Yesterday, he was running back playing D. He's getting back on the ball. Like, there was other sides of his game that he's polished up. You know, he makes the comments pregame about no dust up with Spalletti. If Juve comes calling, you got to like, if there was an avenue there, great, but I know it's not feasible because of the money it's going to take to get him. But that type of profile striker, I think we can all agree that's what we're missing. And Vlahovic may not be that wholeheartedly, but he's as close to that as we're going to get. So if, like you said, you have him in-house, you get him at half the wage right now, then you have to consider it.
Yeah. Now, let's get to Storm the Barn. Let's see what we got here. Calvin Jones. Was Cabal's performance the worst by any player in Juve history in a game? Oh my goodness. 20, what was it, like 27 minutes, Red? No, not even. 23 minutes. 2 yellows sent off. 23 minutes. It's the
quickest in history, no? Our history, I think.
It might be. Oh, man.
In UCL, they said that on the broadcast, they said we are the club with the most sub red cards. So meaning a guy's been subbed on in UCL history and gotten a red card. Juve is the team that leads all teams. I think it's like they've had 3 guys over their history or 4 guys over their history that have come in, subbed on, and got 2 yellows and sent off.
Yeah, man. I'd probably say it's got to be up there. But I'm trying to think of like poor performances. I'm trying to think of the guys that like really stood out for horror shows. I mean, in Champions League, I'm trying to think, but like I know some Coppa Italia, like I remember Sandro having a disaster of a game in a Coppa Italia. Was that a final too? It might have been the final. Disaster of a game. There's been some shit performances, but 23 minutes sent off, crazy.
Yeah, you'd have to dig deep to go back into the archives, but there's been a few definitely. But I think
this one was just a horror show. It was it's probably gonna stand out, and obviously 23 minutes getting sent, but like it's the first time in Europe since 1930s or something.
Yeah,
some like crazy like that since we've conceded 5 goals.
Yeah,
that's that part was just crazy for me. Spalletti going to back 3, we talked about that. I'm just kind of like looking at some of the headlines out there, but I believe that's what it was. It was the first time in Europe. Last time, or sorry, not the 30s, the 50s. Last time Juve conceded 5 goals in a Champions League defeat was 1958-1959 competition. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Juve have conceded 13 goals in their last. That's not right. They're saying 13 goals in their last 4 matches. I don't think it's 13, but I think it's 10. It's 10 or 11.
It might be double digits, yeah, but I don't know if it's 13.
Yeah, 13 seems a little high, but regardless, it sucks either way. It's been nasty. It's been nasty. I do think we have. So we got a change here on Gleison Bremer. No injury for Gleison Bremer.
Oh.
The tests showed no issues. He will be evaluated on a day-to-day basis. Woo!
So, in saying that, do you rest him against Como? Or do you start him against Como?
I probably don't start him against Como because you have absolutely... Okay, like if we're talking percentages of the comeback, of the remontada, okay, it's like 10 to 13% right now.
Yeah.
That's with Bremer. Without Bremer, I'm at like there's no chance we don't concede 1 or even 2 without Bremer.
With keeping that in mind, so if you're saying you don't start him, remember Kalulu's out. So what's the back line going into Como? Kelly, Coop, and Gatti?
Yeah, you have to deal with Gatti to do a job on the outside right.
Oh, that's scary.
And I wouldn't put him in the heart.
Yeah, put him on the right. Take Kalulu's spot.
Put him on the outside right, like as a back 3, not a full back.
Yes.
You don't play Gatti as a full back. Put him there. Yeah. Trust Mac to do a job on the outside right for a while. Yeah. Right? Yeah, you need him against Galatasaray. You need him in that game.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll be fit. I don't think he'll be fit for Como anyways.
We could also use CR7 in that return leg. I mean, if anybody knows about a 3-goal comeback, we got to bring CR from Mal Nazar back. And
man, that was unreal.
Yeah,
that was unreal. But yeah, that's great news on Bremer. No injury. Will be evaluated day-to-day basis. Sigh of relief there, but hopefully it's not too long. A month, that makes me feel a lot better in terms of top 4 too. Because I wasn't worried previously. Now all of a sudden I am worried because the guys on the bench, like, it just ain't happening. You're already hearing the rumors that Jagrova one and done. Spalletti's got...
Oh, yeah.
Spalletti feels nothing there, and he's obviously not going to him. He's not getting anything, and see you later. There's already the rumors surfacing, one and done for Jagrova, picked up on a cheap deal. So we see. Your thoughts on those who criticize Spalletti when 4 goals were weekend amateur league mistakes? I spoke about it, and I feel he's pretty hard done by. I can't stress this enough. We have no depth. We have none. Fuck, we're just talking about that back line.
Well, the funny thing is, if we can see it going into the season at the start of the year, it's like we're halfway through a season now. It's like, Jesus, it's almost like it's gotten worse. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, yeah, because you would expect by, the worst case scenario, November, Jagrova will be fully fit, ready to play and add something. No. I mean, it says a lot. Past 2 seasons, you pick up rentals and you want those rentals starting and play. That says a lot to me. It's like you're picking up Boga and you're already like, man, this guy could start for us. That says so much that there's just no depth. There's no help. There's no support. So whatever Spalletti's doing is unsustainable. I feel like players lack the sense of urgency. We knew we had a second leg at home and decided to risk by playing it too close to goal multiple times. We are our own worst enemy, unfortunately. Absolutely. Absolutely. The amount of goals that we've conceded that are avoidable is insane. It's disgusting. You just can't do that and get away with it. You will get punished. We're getting punished.
And other than the Inter match, more often than not, how many times have we said that Juve is their own worst enemy in terms of getting in their own way and losing matches. Like, I'd argue the Inter match was the only one recently that we've lost where I can say, like, you know, a couple breaks here and there that they got. But majority of it, it's been like our losses have been us. Cagliari is a perfect example, getting in our own way, not able to, you know, figure out and break down a low block. Like, various times or instances where majority of the time we lose, it's because of mistakes that we've created.
Yeah. And Jesus, it actually is 13 goals in 4 games conceded.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
Oof. Nothing against Spalletti. I love the guy. But to me, personally, I don't care if it's a hot take or not, but Yildiz does not look the same under Spalletti. He's not as creative, lethal, nor fun to watch. The one thing Igor Tudor had going for him was that both Chico and Yildiz looked better because they weren't glued to sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
That was the... Tudor had Yildiz rolling because he played a traditional 3-4-2-1 and Tudor wants his outsides to take the outsides. Okay? Both of those guys had free roam inside, centrally, whatever, and they could drift to the outside if they wanted. It was the one and only thing Tudor really got right. But Yildiz was rolling there. Guys, he needs to slide inside more. He needs to find the pockets of space. Needs to give himself less work to do to be able to actually hit goals. Get goals, get assists. I don't know. There's nothing that little Akun did yesterday that Yildiz can't. Yildiz is a better player than Akun. But not if he's going to just pigeonhole himself.
Yeah, pace might be the only thing that he concedes to Yilmaz, but other than that, yeah, they're pretty similar.
Did the players think we signed Osimhen, passing him like he's our own? Yeah, pretty much. Jeez. He was glazing Juve beforehand there, Osimhen. Yeah. For Serie A, do we bring those two defenders? One is the fullback from Next Gen that are killing it this season. So, Heel Puche is who I'm thinking of. Mm-hmm. He's apparently ready. I like to see these guys get some minutes in reserve form before firing them into a lineup.
Yeah, I think it's also like, in terms of the back line specifically, I think we're a little bit thinner when it comes to depth, like in Next Gen as well. Like, majority of the guys that you hear about are going to be more of offensive players, whether they're wingers or the striker. Like, you know, we got to still come out with the short about the guy. What's his name? Justin? I don't even know how to say. Haven't made that.
Bob.
Yeah. So we got him, but again, he's not a defender. So most of the guys, just Gil Push, like you said, he's the only guy that's kind of on the radar. Everybody else is more of an offensive player, midfielder.
Heel Puche, I'm not against it, but I mean, you'd love to see reserve minutes for Puche before actually calling him in. We'll see. We'll see. Does anyone else have the worry that Spalletti... So we kind of covered this one. I don't actually have that fear whatsoever. First time I feel harmony there. Could Kalulu be in the center? Well, he won't even be available.
Yeah,
but in general, for me, no. I would go against that personally. I'd be open to trying it, but he's too important on that side. And that side's been holding it down well. It's literally the left side we get torched on.
Yeah. Even
Kelly and Cambiaso on that side that we're getting cooked. And our own mistakes.
By himself in the middle in a 3-man, like he struggled in a 4-man playing right center back at times when either it was with us or even I think at Milan, he played some games at right CB. Like he's just better on the outside.
Yeah.
He's got his pace, and like you said, he holds down that side very well. So I would say no, I wouldn't want to try it.
Calcio Reno's got the same question Tuna did in terms of Spalletti. Skippy's got, do we keep David next year, but in the 10 position with a striker ahead of him? I'll be quite honest. I'm not in a rush to get rid of him. I don't think it's been to that extent. The big thing with him is the capital. And what the team's going to decide to do, what kind of offers are on there. But honestly, he could play in that facet. He could play as a double striker pairing. He could cover and do a job solo. Not in a rush to get rid of him. The thing with him is obviously that capital, but Juve's got some work to do. I think we'll never see a two-man striker set with Spalletti. So I feel like if David's a guy that comes off the bench too, that's not a problem by any means. To have a guy he got those numbers, not just all friggin' tap-ins in Lille and in Champions League. I mean, his positioning, I think, doesn't get spoken about enough, and I think it highlights yesterday when these guys have no real options, and his ability to just know where to be, where to go, all that has been really, really strong, and it's helped this team. But does he need more goals? Absolutely. Absolutely needs a little more production. The start of the year was rough for Jonathan David. But since that PK disaster, he's been putting in good shifts. So I'm not in a rush to get rid of him. Could he play in the 10 position? He could. He could be an option, but I don't think it's like the be all end all. I wouldn't strive for that. Everybody knows I'm guns blazing for Bernardo Silva to come into this team and help us and be that player that we lack, which is that final ball, that final piece of execution that is world class. That's me. What do you think about this and David as a 10?
Well, you can play the role, but he wouldn't be my first choice based on who we already have on the roster. And then to your point of if you get a guy like Bernardo Silva in the summer, who has more experience playing in that position in a league such as Serie A or just a high-profile league. Again, he played predominantly as a striker for Lille. So, and I always said, too, when we did sign him, that he was never going to be and should never be the main guy. Again, yeah, people will fight me on and fight us on the salary, but he's predominantly been at his best when he's playing with a second striker. Now, if Spalletti's not going to adopt that kind of style or philosophy, that's fine. Then he's a good either rotational guy, or even if you play him in maybe like a 4-3-3, it might open up more goals. But I think he's just been hard done by. I think this is a player that's adapting to a new league, and a lot of his naysayers are just not giving him the benefit of the doubt to let him adapt. But we've seen that he's played a lot better as the season's gone along. And again, I think he's just been hard done by. If a lot of those missed tap-ins go in, he's at almost double-digit goal totals for Serie A, pretty close to it, and it's looking a lot different. So let's see what happens in the summer. But as the main striker, I don't think he was ever going to be that. He was a good opportunity on the Mercato and someone that can hold up well and play well and offer something that our other strikers don't offer right now. So
yeah, that's the thing. It's an area that we lacked, which was the hold up, the ability to get this team to build up together and move up the pitch. You didn't have that. You had a guy that was like service reliant, which, funny enough, you need at points this season. It's like you need a bit of everything. Yeah, it's just take your pick. There's definitely traits and abilities we lack, and that's not at the only position. But as far as he goes, since the PK, it's cleaned up quite well, I think. And for me, he's low on the list of guys to move, in my opinion. No, because you need a striker anyways. Can you say run car snow pen? Joke for the Swedes, Adam. Come on. Worst Champions League KO cameo. Cabal yesterday. Rugani versus Villarreal. Bentancur versus Porto. Demiral versus Lyon. Or way back Evra versus Bayern. So what's the worst Champions League cameo?
Rugani versus Villarreal is a good shout. That was tough, man. I fucking lost at that game.
That one was pretty bad. Bentancur Porto. I'm trying to remember Bentancur Porto. I don't remember a lot of great showings from Bentancur, to be quite honest. So it's like I'm mixed in with just a lot of average shit. Demiral versus Lyon. Wasn't that a PK?
Yeah, I think he conceded a PK in that game.
Yeah, the Evra Bayern, clear the fucking ball, man. Jesus Christ. I love Uncle Pat, man. I love Tio Pat. Oh, my God. He was a beauty. He was a beauty in Philly, too. Meeting him, shaking his hand, couple words, getting an autograph stuff. Good dude. But Jesus. Cabal takes the cake for me. 23 minutes sent off when you're in safety relief. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's not even a one-off. It's not even like a foul you made. Like, it's just like, hey, bang, bang, play. I made a decision. It was the wrong decision. It's like you could have easily prevented it. And I have no words. I have no words, man. I have no words. Getting all the defensive positions in order, I think we should move on from Di Gregorio. I'm open to an upgrade. Has to be a clear, definitive upgrade. And I don't want a majority of our spendings to go to that position, though.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like we're open to upgrades, but what are we talking in terms of spending-wise? Because
if you have a good deal on like a top elite keeper and then it's just his big salary, I'm cool with that too. Has to be clear, definitive upgrade, and you can't get a major budget number to go there because you have too many needs. And I know where you guys are going with this. Carnesecchi will not be 25 million euros from Atalanta. It ain't happening. Nope. You know what Atalanta will sell you for 25 million? Probably a few balls of water from their cafeteria. That's about it.
Yeah.
And I sure as hell don't want Vicario. At all.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that the Carnesecchi train took off or left a little while ago. Like the second he was Atalanta's product, like we're not getting him. Like, or I mean, unless you want to overpay.
I laughed at those rumors. 25 million. They don't sell anybody for 25 million. Before Palestra even played, they wanted 25.
That's the thing. Yeah.
He was at 200 and something playing minutes, and they were like 25 million minimum. And that was the reports. It turned out they wanted 30. So now you're telling me he's available for 25. Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. Now, Calvin says, Di Gregorio plus 15 mil.
They drinking some whiskey over there in Atalanta. Maybe they're getting a little excited, and we can slide that in there, and they agree. I don't think they'd accept that.
They won't accept that. They'll want cold hard cash. Would you do that move?
That one that Calvin mentioned? Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
I think Carnesecchi's overrated.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I think D-Gray's just the same as a lot of our guys up and down. D-Gray was so much better last year. He was so much better last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no faith in Perin. Di Gregorio's a yo-yo. Like, this guy allows a shit goal like that, first one to Inter, and then stands on his head again. Like, you don't know what this guy's going to do. That's why I talk about all these guys on this team. They're just doing this outside of, like, a couple main guys.
Yeah.
Like, who's steady? Bremer? Loka? Even Yildiz takes dips. Kalulu. Those are your three steady eddies. Man. And first off, right here, Take it easy, Tuna. Easy.
Oh
Easy.
boy, no, let's not
Pause.
let's not wish that upon
Pause. Rubbing off on you. Jesus.
Jeez.
Easy with the choice of words there, buddy. Who's a bigger Juve legend? Chiellini or Nedved?
That's a tough one, man.
I love both of these guys, man. Nedved's one of our Ballon d'Or winners. I believe there's a period of time there, a healthy period with great defenders around where you could literally say Chiellini was the best defender in the world, best center back in the world. Jesus. Talk about a tenure with Chiellini as well. Like,
that's where I was going to go with it. That might be, for me, that might be the only deciding factor because Nedved came from Lazio, right? But still, like, it's not like, we're splitting hairs, but
I love both of these guys. For me personally, it's Giorgione. For me personally, I put Giorgione a little bit above Pavel. Pavel was phenomenal, though. I loved him, man. One of the most badass nicknames, too. La Furia Cieca, the fucking Ballon d'Or winner. Absolute stud of a player. You asked me today, Wednesday, February, I say Chiellini. You asked me this weekend, I might tell you Pavel Nedved. That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You guys,
I'm in agreement with you.
Now, before we close out, is there anything you have, Trim? Any Storm the Barns right before we kind of sign out?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I think the most obvious thing that kind of ties into everything is, what's your temperature reading in terms of top four? I mean, I think, throughout the year, every time we take a dip, it always gets brought up and brought into question. Okay, at one point, I know I was still on the train of Scudetto, so we're gonna bury that. That's buried. We're not talking about that no more. No problem. But in terms of top four,
that's buried.
That's buried, dead and gone. But in terms of top four, I think a lot of people after yesterday and after even the Inter match are starting to get a little bit worried specific to the injuries. So what would your temperature reading be on that? That's my Storm the Barn in terms of top four. You still thinking, yes, we're going to make it for sure? Are you kind of 50-50 or are you kind of not?
There's a pretty important game happening today between Milan and Como.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty a big game there because we immediately face Como. These next two matches, Como and Roma, I'll really be able to tell you where my meter's at. Yeah. I'm still feeling relatively comfortable, more on the comfortable side, that we will finish in a top four position.
Yeah.
That's me personally. I don't know. I feel like Roma's going to have their ups and downs. They're still going to lose. They've lost a lot of games. They're still going to lose games because they've already lost 8. They've won 15, 2 more wins than us, but they're not pulling draws. It's win or loss. So I feel like they're going to just be the up and down. Atalanta, that's kind of a tough gauge with Palladino coming in there. That maybe they, hit a wave and ride out Como. Como, I also feel, will be in that mix for 5 and 6. I don't know if they can break that barrier to 4. So I'm still feeling relatively comfortable. But, fuck, man, we got to stop conceding goals. I need to see these guys clean that part of the game up. If they don't, I'm going to be very concerned if we consistently keep allowing goals. We got to get back to clean sheets.
Yeah.
But I still feel Juve gets in top 4, personally.
So one thing to keep in mind too, Roma qualified for the round of 16 for Europa. So they've got Europa League on deck. Atalanta's also in a playoff for Champions League. So you've got that as well. That's one thing to consider for both squads, depending how far they go there and how seriously they take both competitions. Como is one competition, so they're going to be right there till the end. And then depending on what happens with us on Tuesday, obviously. But I think it's safe to say that we're probably bowing out. So if that's the case, we've only got one comp a week, one game a week to match Milan, Como, and go from there.
Yeah.
So
I still think right now, and again, this could change because two big games, Como and Roma, but Galatasaray. Oh, we're gonna need a remontada of all time, an all-timer coming back home. It's not impossible, okay? This team could pull off that victory. Like, we could score the goals. I feel like we could score the goals if we play it properly. It's can we keep them out?
Yeah.
And all eyes are going to be on Gleison Bremer. One good bit of news, that injury is avoided. He's going to be on a day-to-day basis. That's great stuff for us because, as I said, beyond, individuals, etc., it's just depth, man. They have no depth. No depth. I'm feeling for Spalletti. I really am. This is the worst I've ever seen. Worst I've ever seen for a Juve roster. Yeah. We got to get it together for Como. Do you have an early prediction for that match?
Well, the one thing, I don't know how much a lot of our fans believe in this or not, if it's a factor or not, but we are at home. So I think that'll help a little bit. But if I had an early prediction, I'd probably go 1-1 draw, to be honest. I think both teams get a goal because we know with our defense going into that match, it's gonna be dicey. So that would be my early prediction, 1-1.
David is also still on a day-to-day basis. Makeshift up top against Como. I believe that Juve finds a way and we'll squeak through. I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't see a clean sheet for Juve, but I do see like a narrow victory, like a 2-1. I'll probably say is an early prediction for me. We'll see. Follow the team along day by day into that matchup. See where it stands. You guys, for today, drop a like. Smash that subscribe button if you're new here. Okay, you're tuning in on other outlets. Get over, smash that subscribe button, and get yourself entered to win some kits. Congrats to our latest winners. Bianconeri taking home the 0506 Nike home kit, the Centenario del Primo Scudetto, and congrats to Tony Roast Beef winning the 0405 Sky Sport home kit, with Del Piero on the back. For February, our subscribers, thank you. Legend status, you're in for the 15-16 black and gold Marquisio on the back. And for everybody else, Palace kit. Palace kit with Dybala on the back. Omer with a hot take saying he didn't like it. I could have. Oh. What's going on there?
That's a nice one.
Beautiful kit. Beautiful kit. Yeah. But you guys, we thank you for your continued support. A rough one there in Istanbul. We move on to the weekend and then get ready. A couple back-to-back home matches. Let's take care of business. But Spalletti and the lads, they got work to do. So let's see. You guys, till next time, no matter what, Trim, absolute pleasure as always. But no matter what, it's ride or die, baby. And until the end, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao tutti. We'll talk real soon.